Okay, so winter is upon us now, and for a lot of people, that means colder temps, shitty Christmas movies, time with family that you don't want to be around.
Merry Christmas! Dinner was full!
But for cyclists, it means that we are about to ramp up our home training season. Yes, home training has become a massive thing over the last few years, even to the point of teams using it as a recruitment tool for pro racers. Now, I personally haven't even really used a trainer since back in high school, and back then all you really got were these kinetic or fluid trainers that you had to put your back wheel on and it would bulge your tire after about an hour. So unless you were using special tires for the trainer, that you would have to have either a spare back wheel or just switch the tire every time you wanted to use it. Luckily for us, over the last few years, smart trainers have been the go-to for all needs indoor training if you are an avid cyclist. These allow you to put your back wheel, just take it off, put it right on the cassette. You have your cassette on there and you're good to go. The problem being, if you own more than one bike that you would like to put on that trainer, you're out of luck. You're either gonna have to switch the cassette every single time or ride every single bike with the exact same group set and setup that you wanna use, or you're gonna be adjusting every single time. So what do you do? Well, after talking to a friend recently who was running into this exact problem with one bike that's 10 speed and one bike that's 11 speed, I went digging through the internet and I was able to find this. Now, this is the new Zwift Hub One, and it claims that you can put any bike on one trainer with no changing anything at all. So that's a big claim. Now, until now, I had never seen something like this where you could just use one bike on the same trainer. Even when you're using one of those old kinetic or fluid ones, again, we're running into the problem of balding your tire or just getting a backup wheel that is your designated trainer wheel, which can just be a hassle. Oh! So finding this is a fantastic revelation and something that I think we're gonna take a look at here today. Can its claim be as good as it is? There is no way that you can just put any bike on this and it's fine. So looking a little closer at it, I mean, the price is fantastic. It's $599, and you get a free 1-year Zwift membership. So this is really kind of seeming like the all-in-one package. You can even finance it if you would like to. And I mean, this thing it's pretty crazy. It's nearly half the price of any other trainer on the market, any smart trainer. And if we look down here, what we are getting the Zwift Hub One, the Zwift Click, which I'll get into in just a moment, and the 1-year membership of Zwift. So when we're looking at this thing, obviously, you can't shift between your own gears because there is one single hub on the back and it does all the shifting digitally. So it comes with this little guy right here, this little clicker that is your new shifter. You can mount it to the handlebars, you can mount it really kind of wherever you want, but that will now effectively be your shifter. There's no way that this can work. So you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna order one for us and we're gonna test it out and we're gonna see how good it is. So go ahead and order, and now we wait. Oh, look at that, it's here. Yes, through the wonders of movie magic, I have already received my trainer, Magic. And I've been playing around with it for a couple days, and this thing's really cool. It's really cool, guys. Now, I haven't yet tested it with other bikes, so that's what we're gonna be doing here in this video, is we're gonna see if you actually can put one bike or one trainer to rule them all. Is it the ring of power of cycling trainers, or is this just another gimmick? So the first thing that we can kind of take a look at is I have been testing it out with my tarmac on there, and what I have noticed is that yeah, it does function very well as a trainer, as you would expect. It is a little strange getting used to with the click shifting and everything like that. I'll kind of show you a little bit in the setup too, because you have to do it a little bit differently, but it does work and it is working well. So the next thing I want to test here is if it actually can fit multiple bikes without having to change anything whatsoever. And I just so happen to have a couple other quick release bikes that we can take a look at, but we'll get into those in a minute. Okay, so when we're looking at the actual tech specs of this trainer itself, we're seeing some pretty similar kind of things between other trainers. We have a power accuracy of plus or minus 2.5%. This is a power metered trainer. It is a smart trainer. It can connect to Zwift and everything like that and give you your real-time data. So that's a pretty good margin right there. That's not too bad. It has a maximum power output of 1,800 watts. That is pretty decent. Maximum simulated gradient, 16%. Also very, very good, and a max rider weight of 265 pounds. Now, you've heard me mention in previous videos that I was working on losing some weight, and previously I did start at 265. That was my starting weight, and I am happy to announce that I am currently sitting just below 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. I was 209 pounds, but last week was Thanksgiving. So I think we're all kind of feeling that, and maybe you can relate to this a little bit. Now, just a few of the other specs I want to get into here, and we're going to compare this to maybe like a Wahoo or something like that as well, but the sound that it says it outputs is 52 decibels at 250 watts. This one, I think I may have some contention with because I don't think that's true. From the few little times that we've been using this trainer is a little loud. We'll get to that in a minute, and you'll get to hear it firsthand, but it's a little noisier than other trainers I have met. But honestly, with the trade-off of having one trainer for all of our bikes, I think I'd kind of take that. That's a pretty decent trade-off right there. Now, the Zwift Click itself, because this is one of the main features that you really need on this trainer for it to be effective, this is something that I can see right out the box, and even before I ordered the thing, as being a massive problem. As someone who has experienced using little gizmos like this, they have a tendency to grow legs. And yeah, maybe I'm not the best at keeping track of things, but it's such a small little piece, and all of these little bands that you need to secure it in place, it seems like a lot of parts that could very easily get lost. So that is a complaint I'm gonna have right out the box. I think that's kind of a dumb design. But I understand because of the nature of the trainer itself that you have to have a system to change the resistance that way. Something cool I did notice about it is that this has 12 gears. I'm sure you can go in the settings and change it to be your specific bike, but it's kind of neat if you're riding on a bike that's maybe 8 or 9 speed, because it says it can take those. Virtually, you have a full 12-speed gearbox back there. So that's kind of a nice feature. No matter what you're riding, you have the 12 gears. And from playing around with it, it does work. It does feel like you are changing gears, but it's kind of strange because you don't get that actual tactile feeling. It's just doing it digitally on the resistance. So it's a little strange, but I do get it, and it does work. It does actually do its function. This connects through Bluetooth like everything else on the trainer. Has different types of connections you can do on the trainer, but mostly you're probably going to be doing it through Bluetooth. Now, as for the actual riding itself, I have only gotten to really try it out for about 7 minutes or so because I am currently sick. I have some sort of sinus infection thing, and I made it all of 7 minutes before I had to throw in the towel. So I haven't gotten a lot of experience with it, but that's not what I really wanted to do with this video. I wanted this to be my first initial impressions, and then down the road we can do a longer, in-depth review after using it for several months. But for right now, yeah, I'm kind of a little limited. But since we do have the ability to put the multiple bikes on, we have been taking turns on it, my wife and I together. So she's been trying it out on both my bike, and we're about to try it out with putting the Klein on. Now, this is what I'm really interested in, is if it can accept older bikes like this. For those of you who are not aware, because you probably haven't owned a Klein before, Klein did some stupid things with their bikes. I wanted one of these forever because of their ice cream color schemes, as they call them. They're on almost all of their bikes from that certain era. They were so cool, and I finally got one. I found it at a pawn shop for $400, and I had to snatch it right then and there. What I didn't realize when I was buying it is it has the dumbest dropouts for the rear wheel that have ever existed in the history of cycling, and its bottom bracket is proprietary and basically cannot be removed. Technically, yes, it can be removed and replaced, but it is a lot of work and a massive headache. Hence why I have this hideous crank on there right now, because I just didn't change the bottom bracket out. Because That was too much work. But I did update everything else on the bike. The group set has been replaced with what was actually the 105 that came on my tarmac when it was brand new. Apart from the shifters, those are different as well because, long story, they're different anyway. Get off my back about it. They still work the same. But because of these really weird dropouts, that's what I'm really curious about, if that's going to affect it at all. Now, this trainer can accept quick release or disc brake with a through axle, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit as well later on because I'll kind of go over some basic setup and things like that. The first thing we are going to try, though, is putting this Klein on. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, and the first thing we are going to want to do is to take off the back wheel and make sure that it is in your smallest cog back there like normal. Now, this would be a super easy and normal process on any bike other than a Klein, but once again, because of those wonderful dropouts in the back, it is an entire process. Get out of there, you son of a bitch! Once the wheel is free, we're going to need to shift into about the middle range of our gears. And the reason that they do this is because the hub is kind of more centered than angled towards where the actual highest gear is. You need to kind of put it more in the middle. And next, we're going to take one of these little cards if you're using disc brake or rim brake. This one is for a quick release rim brake, and we're going to check it in the actual dropouts itself to make sure that it does fit and to determine if we need to use a spacer. Once that's all set, you only need to thread the chain over and thread the chain over and just like that. Oh, okay. And this is where we run into problems. Okay. And yeah, that's not going to work right there. After fidgeting with this for about 20 minutes, I decided just to remove the quick release skewer because that seemed to be kind of what was blocking it and try to put the bike on that way. And this still was no real easy feat. Was still having some trouble kind of getting it on, but once doing a couple little adjustments, yeah. Eventually, I was able to get it completely threaded through and slotted in just fine, and we were able to fully mount the bike. And now this functions like any other quick release. You just simply tighten it down and then pull the lever down to lock it in place. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to try real quick is we are going to measure how loud this thing actually is. And to do that, I went ahead and downloaded a decibel meter on my phone. So we're going to check it at the 250 watts like it says. Important thing to note here, and this app even did give me a disclaimer that it is not going to be as accurate as an actual calibrated decibel meter. But from reviews, I've seen that this one does get pretty close when checked against other decibel meters that are official ones that are actually calibrated and certified. So this is not an exact test, but we're gonna see how it is. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put up the Zwift screen so you guys can see the power raising up to that 250 and as well with the decibel meter so we can see it raising in tandem. All right, and so starting out here, this is what it's going to look like whenever you start a ride. All the people are going to pop into existence just like that. And we're going to go ahead and get started and put the decibel meter up here. And as you can see, we're barely out of the 100s. We're averaging around 120 to 150, and the decibels are already over 72. So I think we can call this test a little bit of a failure. But one thing I did notice while doing this test, and you'll see me shifting up here in the upper left-hand corner, is that earlier I said there were 12 gears, but it looks like there are actually 13. So that's a pretty fun little gizmo there that you get the 13 gears whenever you're using this app. What we will do now, though, is we're going to have you actually listen to the trainer. So I'm going to let my wife, Kate, take over from here and do some riding for us while we listen to the sound of the trainer. Yeah, that's a great sound. Lovely. Okay, and last thing we're going to look at here real quick is just comparing the Zwift to one of the Wahoos. This is the Kicker Core that we're looking at right now, which is also $599 and does come with a 1-year Zwift membership. And as you can see, they're pretty much identical trainers in both power and simulated max gradient. But if we switch over to the main kicker, we do see an increase in both the power and the simulated gradient, but we also see an increase in the price, as this one's about $1,400. So for me personally, I still think the value of the Zwift is what I would go for over the Wahoo. Now, final thoughts on the trainer. Overall, my initial impression is, yeah, I think you can put just about any bike, as long as it's between 8 and 12 speed as they recommend. I think you can put any bike on here and probably be able to use it just fine. Again, I'm not too positive on its operation yet. I've read some reviews of clicking noises later on that may or may not be due to the thing breaking. So we're going to have to do a little more in-depth review on that. But initial thoughts, I would say, this is a fantastic trainer, and if you are a family that does have multiple bikes, or even just someone looking for an easier option than one of the big boys, I think this is a perfect trainer. I think this is something that you could definitely get up and start using right out the box and seeing benefits from. But we'll see. Again, we're going to have to do some long-term in-depths, but initial thoughts on this trainer are, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a lot better than the Wahoo that I did have, which quit working very, very quick. It was an older model, and it would do this every time I tried to plug it in.
A couple of months after I visited Trinidad and Tobago, COVID-19 took over the world. So I have not physically seen China.
What you remember is you used to drive that old busted joint. See, I drive the new hotness. Old and busted, new hotness.
So yeah, I'm happy with the Zwift. I really am just happy that I have something that I can ride my bike indoors whenever I want to, no matter the weather. And I'm sure there's lots of you out there that are winter warriors that are just bundling up and going for rides in the deep snow. And good for you. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you want to do. For the rest of us who might be kind of weenies to the colder temperatures, this is fantastic. And I honestly see myself using this a lot in the coming months. So we're going to have a lot of experience with it and a lot more in-depth to go into, and maybe doing some online classes together, or just even fun rides to get anyone who wants to together and go on a Zwift together. But I'll go ahead and put my Zwift information right down here, so go ahead and follow me, and yeah, let's go ride soon, because now we can. It's the internet, everyone's connected. But that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you do subscribe, you are entered into our contest to win a Physique Vento Antares R1. And that is going to do it for this week on Dobbs Cycle Works. Take care, safe riding, and we will see you next time.